We're all glad you are here. Sioux Falls. All right, we will get started. Welcome everyone. You are joining today's for Bring Your A Game, and I will turn it over to Jamie because she's already ready for you. But like I said earlier, if you have any questions, please drop it in the chat so that way I can keep track and we will get at those at the very end. So welcome, Jamie and Tara.
Hi, thank you. And good morning. My name is Jami. I've worked for the Department of Labor and Regulation for just about 3 years now. I oversee the Bring Your A Game to Work and Governor Noem's Family First initiative, along with a lot of other duties as assigned. This morning, we're going to go over the background and research of the Bring Your A Game curriculum. Today, as Jamie mentioned, I have Tara with me. In a little bit, she is going to kind of give you an overview of how the curriculum is taught to students. Tara, do you want to introduce yourself or give yourself some background?
Yes, I was like, oh, I couldn't unmute myself earlier, but now I can, so good. Hi, everybody. I'm Tara, and I work in Yankton as a career advisor, so I get to work directly with youth in the schools to help connect them to workforce development, career planning, career exploration activities, things like that, and I fortunately get to teach Bring Your A Game to students in multiple grade levels and multiple classes, and it's been really successful. So this is a really a good topic and a great curriculum to bring to your schools if you haven't had it already. And I've been a career advisor for going on 8 months now. I'm in my first year here at Department of Labor, and I've worked with kids and youth for many years, so happy to be here and happy to learn too. So thank you.
Thanks, Tara. And Tara does a phenomenal job teaching Bring Your A Game. So that's why I reached out to her and asked her if she would assist me in kind of doing an overview, because while I don't teach it myself, I oversee the program and kind of know the ins and outs of what they do, but not the specifics. When I was contacted about doing a presentation for Bring Your A Game, 2 things came to my mind. The first was excitement, because the program has come so far in the last 2 years. It's really built, and there's a lot of hype around it with the schools. And every year we see more and more school districts showing interest and asking if they can get it in their schools, to the point where we've almost had to have a waiting list. Haven't gotten there yet, but it's been close a couple of times. So having the opportunity to do this is only going to help promote it even more, which is really exciting. And then for anybody who knows me, my second thought was panic. One of the skills I'm personally working on improving is public speaking. It's not at the top of my favorite things to do, but in the end, the excitement of being able to do this overtook the panic, and here we are today. With that being said, in the chat box, I would like to know what technical or soft skill is one that you continue to work on improving. I'll give you guys a minute or so to put those in there, and I think Tara's going to keep her eye on it for me.
And just while people are putting their comments in there, one thing that I always need to work on and need to focus on when it comes to soft skills is showing appreciation. And I feel like that's one of those things that's really important as you get into the workforce. Sometimes we get so focused on what we need to do and what task we have to complete that we forget to appreciate the work that we're doing, like appreciate that we have a job, appreciate that we get to work and that we get to help people or get to do whatever we get to do. But we also appreciate our coworkers and appreciate our customers, things like that. I feel like that's something I'm constantly reminding myself of, is the appreciation of soft skills for me. And it looks yeah, go ahead, Jamie.
Working at Department of Labor, you get to do a lot of cool things and be a part of a lot of new and upcoming projects as well. So it's really exciting, and it's always changing.
Yeah, it looks like Danita says she also wants to give it her public speaking. So it looks like you have a buddy.
Yay.
And you do a great job. I'm sure you do too, Danita. Organization, embracing change. That's a good one because sometimes we're not very accepting of change. So that's a really good one.
Yeah,
Presenting to large groups. That it's tough and it's overwhelming, and maybe it's just that confidence of knowing that you're doing a good job. Active listening, communication skills. Jordan says conflict resolution. That's a good one, and that's one that's easier said than done, really.
yes.
Teamwork. It's a very important one. Networking, making connections. Cassandra says making connections. Conflict resolution, again, that comes up again. See, Jason says meeting people, networking. Very important in any kind of line of work you do. Networking with others, coworkers, making connections. Another one says teamwork. Got lots of teamwork, networking, conflict resolution, and communicating. All great soft skills that we all need to have.
Yes, perfect. And that's one of the things we try to instill into the youth hopefully before they've reached the workforce, or well, maybe even while they're just beginning, is, how to use those appropriately and when to apply them. And like I said, some individuals that take the workshop, they don't necessarily sometimes know the difference between what a hard skill and a soft skill is. I'll explain those briefly. I'm sure most of you maybe know, maybe some of you don't. Hard skills are those teachable abilities or skill sets that are easy to quantify. You typically learn the hard skills in a classroom, through your books or other training materials, or even on the job. These skills are often listed on your resume and your cover letter, and they're easier to recognize by your employer or a recruiter because they're in there. Soft skills, on the other hand, are subject to skills that are much more harder to quantify. They are also known as people skills or interpersonal skills. Soft skills relate to the way you relate to and interact with other people. As a result of employers needing those, they've expressed, that this is a great need in the workforce. So DLR decided we're going to offer Bring Your A Game at no cost. The curriculum is really designed to teach those foundational behaviors and values in today's workforce. And the goal is, after completing the program, participants walk away with an understanding of those long-term benefits of work ethic, which sets the foundation for professional and personal success. Diving right in, there are 7 soft skill behaviors. Tara will go over these in a little more detail in a little bit, but they include attitude, attendance, appearance, ambition, accountability, acceptance, and appreciation. And some of those things you guys mentioned in your chat. And if you didn't know, DLR also partners with 6 providers across the state. They deliver the curriculum to our program participants and employers. The partners include the Career Learning Center of the Black Hills, Cornerstone's Career Learning Center, Lake Area Technical College, Lutheran Social Services, Outsource Projects, and the Right Turn. In the summer of 2018, DLR job service staff also became certified trainers, so that they were able to offer Bring Your A Game to school districts across the state. Using the soft skills program in school districts provides those students and kids with the skills that employers are stating that they need, or that students are lacking when they enter the workforce. From July of 2018 to June of 2020, DLR led 115 workshops. There were 2,583 students who earned certificates of completion. And I can tell you this is a huge number from 2018 up until this last school year, the 2019-2020 school year. It really took a huge jump. It also covered 55 school districts. I kind of outlined those here in the PowerPoint. So there's still a lot of school districts we haven't been able to get to or haven't reached out. So if you don't see a little star in your school district, you can certainly reach out to one of our local offices in your area, and they would be happy to set up something for your students. All right, a little bit about the curriculum and the organization that developed it. It was developed by the Center for Work Ethic Development. They conducted their own research, keeping in mind that they wanted it based on instructional design with the goal of not just developing skills, but also creating the lasting behavioral changes. The curriculum is very hands-on. They use peer-to-peer interaction. It has a flexible design, so it can be broken up into multiple modules or class periods. And it also engages the student not just emotionally, but intellectually as well. The Center for Work Ethic Development conducted their own research, and when they did, they began with a study that interviewed more than 1,500 employers across the country. The research from that showed that 93% of employers said soft skills were an important part of the job process, but only 44% of the workforce was lacking those skills. The other areas that employers felt needed improvement were technical skills, strong leadership skills, and computer-based technology. 3/4 of those employers said that the incoming workforce was unprepared for the job market. And 88% of managers said that their new hires needed a strong work ethic to succeed. However, only 15% of the individuals they hired possessed that trait. The employers also reported that only 54% of the employees kept their job after 18 months of employment. So not a very high job retention rate. And when they were asked why the 46% of those employers were let go, the top reasons were dishonesty, lying on your resume, refusing to follow directions, conducting personal business at work, inconsistency. So they were either unreliable at work or their behaviors just weren't okay. Inability to get along with others, inability to do their assigned job tasks, performing job tasks slowly and having multiple errors when they were completed, low attendance rates, and then drug and or alcohol abuse. So this makes it crucial for individuals to learn these key soft skills before they enter the workforce so that we can try to make this curve go the other way. So the solution that they came up with was the Bring Your A Game curriculum. In May of this year, the organization actually created a virtual platform for the curriculum with everything going on, the COVID pandemic and everything. It's a little harder to do those in-person classes. They created it. It is called Bring Your A Game Anywhere. And this is a e-learning course that provides accessibility for participants or students to develop these skills no matter where they are, no matter where they're from, which really makes this perfect for students who are attending either in-person school or attending school online. The platform includes 10 interactive e-learning modules. Each module is designed to be completed in about 15, 20 minutes. Those modules include an introduction, and then there's one module for each of the 7 A's, as well as a summary at the end. They also made these modules so that they would still hold that participant-centered engagement for the students. They've included interactive worksheets. These worksheets can be done online or they can be printed and turned in, however the teacher wants it done. There's built-in knowledge checks at the end of each module to kind of make sure that the student's understanding that skill set and they're kind of walking away with what the whole point of that module was really. And then at the end, there is access to the certificate of work ethic proficiency exam. This is optional. You don't have to have this for your students. Some schools do, some schools don't. So the vision is starting January 2021, DLR staff will offer Bring Your A Game Anywhere to the schools, still at no cost. And a quick kind of look at what that will look like is school staff or teacher would request a login from the Department of Labor. That request comes to a couple of different individuals. So during that form, you would pick from 2 different teaching styles. We're offering to have the modules be teacher-led, so the teacher can have one login and teach the students just as he or she normally would, or they can choose to have each student have their own login and kind of have them work at their own pace. After the request is made, the login information is sent, and then we also send a participant guide just so it kind of guides the teacher and the student through how to finish setting up the account and how to work their way through the modules successfully. That's all emailed to the school or the teacher. And then a local job service office staff will reach out to you because they will want to schedule an overview workshop. And those overview workshops are roughly 2 hours long. They can be in person or virtually. It's all dependent on the school and the teacher's preference. At the end of the overview workshop, digital DLR certificates of completion are emailed to the school and they can be printed off for each student who completes that course. All right, after completing all 10 modules, participants will have learned all 7 behaviors of work ethic, those 7 A's we went over at the beginning. DLR then provides an interactive overview workshop. So they're going to be doing virtual activities or in-person activities, however you decided to do that workshop. And it'll pull together all of those A's and really give the student a better understanding of how it affects their lives, whether that's at home, at work, at school, their social lives, really anywhere they do apply. And to give you a better understanding of what the Bring Your A Game curriculum looks like and how it's taught, this is where I'm going to let Tara take over, and she can kind of give you the rundown of how they do things in the school.
Thanks, Jamie. I don't know if I can give a better overview of it. You did a really great job. It's really fun to hear all of the, what the employers are saying, and it's a very big issue that we need to address with our youth today and our adults, and that's why it's being offered to employers and it's being offered to companies and adults and youth as well, because it is it can be a big problem. But it also can make some really great employees happen. So Jamie, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Awesome. Okay, so Jamie just asked me to tell you guys a little bit about kind of how the curriculum's run. She told you a little bit about what the curriculum does and why it was created. And just so you all are aware, you probably know that Department of Labor is really busy with unemployment things right now. So I might have a little background noise. If you guys hear that, I apologize. But we'll kind of push through, and that's why I have these handy dandy ones. So hopefully we don't have that much. But you heard Jamie talk about was why the reasons why Bring Your A Game was created. Really, it was because employers were telling us that they needed it. They knew that there was a work ethic gap that we were facing right now. And the biggest issue that they determined was because of soft skills. And Jamie, you mentioned this. You said that 3/4 of employers say that the incoming workforce is unprepared for the job market because they lack adequate work ethic. And that is a problem that we can fix. A lot of those things are taught, but if we can teach them earlier, we can help to fix this gap down the road for them. Jamie went over this as well, and when employers were asked what they feel is the gap, the biggest gap lies with soft skills, and that's what they're telling us. That's why this is so important that we bring this to youth and to adults alike. The more we talk about soft skills, the more they will understand them and know how to use them. And with soft skills, like Jamie talked about, those are those skills that are interchangeable and we need in any profession or any job that we have. And it might sound simple enough to some, but soft skills are really like any skills. They need to be learned and they need to be practiced. And the more that we talk about them and the more that we do them, the more the kids are going to catch on. And the one thing that I always tell kids when we go through this is that these soft skills and this curriculum isn't just taught to kids, it's taught to CEOs, leaders, company presidents. Everybody needs these skills in order to be successful. So let's start by just kind of going through a rundown of the lessons that we teach. Jamie kind of went over all of the A's and the soft skills. What the research told us was that there was, 7 skills that were lacking. First of all, being attitude. And I love starting with attitude because I feel like this one is really, really important. And if you can get your attitude down, then the rest will follow. When the organization asks employers what soft skill was number 1, they said attitude. Because of job experience, work ethic, specific skills, work history, education were some as well. And attitude is really being positive in every situation. We all know that you can't be positive in every situation, but it all depends on your attitude and how you look at things and your mindset. So through this lesson, we hope that students will leave with an understanding that having a good attitude will translate. In this lesson, we talk a lot about how attitudes can be like the flu and how if you have a great attitude, it's contagious, but also if you have a negative attitude, that can be equally as contagious, just like the flu and how it spreads and it's like a disease. So we talk a lot about how that's really important, and your attitude that not only impacts you and your job, but it impacts everybody around you. So that's one thing we talk about. The other one I really like to talk about during the attitude lesson is kind of relating it to people that they know, famous people. There's a lesson in there that talks about famous individuals who had kind of a rough start, or they were faced with a lot of adversity and they overcame because of their positive attitudes. I always like to talk about my favorite athlete, Michael Jordan. Sorry if there's LeBron fans out there, but we talk about Michael Jordan and we read his quote that he is famous for, and he says, "I missed over 9,000 shots in my career. 26 times I was trusted to take the game-winning shot and I missed. I failed over and over again, and that is why I succeeded." So we talk a lot about how we don't look at it as failures, we look at it as learning experiences, and that's okay, and that our attitude really defines how we move on from some of those failures or things that don't go so well for us. So we talk a lot about that in the attitude lesson, and that one's really a fun one. I also have them, usually with each lesson, we do some sort of activity, some sort of interactive game or something that brings the lesson home. And with this one, I do an activity where they write down a challenge or something that they were faced with that was difficult, and they had a hard time changing their attitude. And what they did was then they crumpled it up in a ball of paper, and then they had to make the game-winning shot in a garbage can, like MJ. So that one's kind of fun. They liked it. It kind of related to basketball, but it also was, significant, and it was kind of where they took a challenge and they threw it away. So that one was kind of fun, and that's why this curriculum is really successful, because it makes it interactive and kids have fun while they're learning, and then lessons kind of relate to, like Jamie talked about, it's not only just like work, but it's also relating to school and home life too, so they can use it in all areas that they might need it. Next is attendance. There's a lot to be said for just showing up when you're scheduled. So we talk a lot about attendance and being reliable, being a good student, showing up for classes. That's one that we talk about a lot. We talk about showing up daily and on time. And we also talk about our work ethic and our personal brands. We do an activity during this lesson where we talk about brands and what our personal brand says about us, and that it's not just what we say, it's actually following that up with our actions and what we do. And that says a lot to the people around us, like our families and our friends, our teachers, bosses, and even our teammates, our coaches. The one thing we talk about is the difference between showing up on time and showing up prepared. So we talk a lot about showing up a little early to prepare yourself for a test, or for getting your homework out and ready, or for showing up to work prepared to work and not taking 10 minutes at the beginning to get a drink of water and go to the bathroom, things like that. So we talk a lot about those things in attendance, how it's not just showing up on time, it's showing up prepared to work, and how that kind of impacts the company's bottom line as well. Appearance is what we talk about. Appearance, unfortunately for youth, it doesn't always mean looking as cool as possible, even though they like to think that. But also doesn't mean showing up in, dirty sweatpants, things like that. So during this lesson, we talk a lot about first impressions and how first impressions are super important, and we don't get a second chance to make one. One thing we talk about and that really hits home to them is I ask them, how long it takes to make a strong first impression. And I always get answers like, oh, like a minute or, 2 hours. It's like, nope, you only get 7 seconds. 7 seconds to make a really strong first impression. And then the one things that we do is we go through some ways to make a good first impression. We talk about showing confidence in our body language to somebody, even if we're not super confident. Like Jami, she told you guys that she didn't really want to do public speaking, but she was confident in things that she talked about. So, her showing confidence in what she was presenting made her, have that good first impression for you guys. Also being aware of the way that we talk and how we speak to people, not having our cell phones out, we talk about a lot because, kids today, they have their heads in their phones. Dressing appropriately, dressing to impress, and then always being on time, not attendance. So we kind of talk about ways to make a good first impression. We also do, we kind of have shown some videos of some different interviewing skills or from different popular movies that they've seen. Now, not Step Brothers though. Those interviewing skills are probably not the best, maybe most appropriate ones to show, but it is funny. Could be a good what not to do. We talk about wardrobe, body language, and we also talk a lot about how social media can impact first impressions with employers. So we talk a lot about social media because that's something I don't think a lot of kids think about. Like some of them know about it, but when we talk about it, they're like, oh, I guess that would make sense if I had something inappropriate or not super professional on my, Instagram feed that might not look good for me. So we talk a lot about that. We kind of show some comparisons, even to we talk about branding, we talk about food and how commercials look different than what you when you actually see a hamburger, but how it looks like on the commercials different. So we talk about impressions like that to kind of help relate it to things that they see every day. Also ambition. Ambition's a really good one because ambition is, just that taking initiative, going the extra mile. We want to help them identify the benefit of them being ambitious and showing ambition in the workplace. So do they do little things that make their work stand out in school, at home? Do they kind of do a little extra for their parents? Likely not, but hopefully maybe after this they can maybe think, maybe I should do something a little extra for my mom, maybe do the dishes. We can all hope, right? Do they care about customers? We talk about how ambition shows how they care about the company and they care about their job. And then we also talk about, people with ambition are the ones that are going to get promotions, they're going to get pay raises. And it's really important to show that to your employers. The one that we also talk about SMART goals in this lesson, which I'm sure they do a lot in school. You guys obviously know a lot about SMART goals, but we kind of help define SMART goals with them and for them. We also practice them, but this is another one where we kind of use a fun game to do it. And this one is so simple, but they love this game. But one thing I've always done with ambition is doing this game called Smarty Stacking. Jami and I did it with middle schoolers and peer, and they just love this game. But you give them 2 packets of Smarties, simple, cheap, and they have to figure out how many Smarties they can stack in a matter of 60 seconds. And they have to write it down as a goal, and they have to try to stack them. And then we give them different tasks and different challenges, they can only use one hand, they have to put one hand behind their back, they have to close their eyes, and they freak out over this game. I love it. And it's one of those things they just they get to eat a little bit of candy, but they really enjoy it, and it kind of hits home the whole making a goal, trying to reach it, and then you always see the ones that are yep, I can do more the next time, I can do more the next time. And that's the point of it. let's just try to aim for more, see what we can get. Next, accountability. This is a really good one too. Accountability is really easy to define, but it is a hard soft skill to practice. So this one is one where we try to teach them that you want to do, you say what you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. So if you tell someone you're going to do something, you better do it, because that makes you accountable. And the more accountable you are, the more employable you are. We want them to communicate their own needs and own up to their mistakes. This one is harder than it sounds to do. So, really we want to create this foundation of honor and integrity for them and with them. Some of my favorite activities to do in this lesson is to just kind of have like a good old debate and have some accountability scenarios. So what we do is we put scenarios up on the screen and we ask them what they would do. Would you, one of them that's been really good is one where if you found a $100 bill in the bathroom at a fast food joint, would you take it? And it has been it's been one that every time I've asked this question, it's been such a not heated, but it's been such a good debate between them that they argue both sides of it. But all the youth, they argue both sides to it. And the one thing that comes out of it is, they try to make excuses. They try to say, well, nobody's going to know that I took it. Or how do I know that the person I turn it into is not going to just pocket it? You don't. The only thing that you know is what you did and the choice that you made. And that is the integrity that we're talking about. And if you did not earn that money, then, that is something that you don't do. And it's just been one that's really fun to get them to think about, because then it's one that they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. I mean, I didn't earn that money, but it makes them think a little bit about how they can all make those excuses, and they can try to justify bad behavior or like something they shouldn't do. And so that kind of catches them, and then it's like, see, we could easily get caught in some of those things where we might justify something because we want to, but we always have to think about that integrity and honor. So it's kind of a good one to get them to debate and talk about. Acceptance. We talk about what they think it means to be accepting, and a lot of times they say like, accepting other coworkers or accepting people that they're around, but then we also like to hit home on how accepting the tasks associated with their job is really important. And I always give the example of when I, throughout all of high school, anybody that has been to Yankton or from Yankton, Tasty Treat Drive-In, anybody been there? It's amazing. If you haven't, it's still open. Last drive-in with Southeast South Dakota. I worked there all through high school and loved it. I loved making ice cream and shakes and loved the customers and my coworkers, but I hated closing duties. And it was always one that I had to do as a high school. I hated closing because you have to clean the grill and you have to clean all the grease and you have to clean the floor and you have to scrub all these things. I hated it. It's hard. It smelled terrible. I just didn't like it. With that being said, if I didn't clean the kitchen, the night shift that came in or the morning shift, they couldn't work because they'd have to clean. The place would reek. Other employees would riot. They'd quit. It'd just be a huge mess. So, but I, signing up for the job, accepted the job duties that were given to me. And that includes the job duties that I might not necessarily like. So we talked a little bit about that and relate it to sometimes we might not like some of the tasks associated with what we're doing, like school things or home things, but we do need to do that and be accepting of some of those things that we're supposed to do. So another thing we talk about is with employment is if they cannot stand the idea of something, then it's really just simple. They shouldn't take the job. But if they need a job and they want a job, then they need to be accepting of some of those tasks. Easy concept, but sometimes with younger generations, they have a harder time with that. But that's kind of one thing we try to go over and hit home with acceptance. Appreciation. Appreciation is kind of one that I talked about, is really important to, demonstrate gratitude towards others, especially customers. The more gratitude and appreciation we show towards people we serve, our customers, makes them feel more confident in what we're providing them. It also makes for, it looks better for our company and our employers, and people want to come back when they're treated well. So we talk a lot about good customer service and that should be provided to every customer, no matter how that customer treats you as well. We also talk a lot about showing gratitudes towards, educators, managers, really anyone who goes out of their way to do something for them, even if it seems small, because those are people that are helping them pave the way to their dreams. So we talk a little bit about showing appreciation towards everyone that, is helping them throughout their lives. Okay, I put Jami's contact information up here. Make sure you write that down. But one thing I also wanted to talk about was, with this curriculum, we teach students many skills that they need to be successful no matter which path they choose. We engage them through fun activities, like I talked about. I don't know a lot about the Bring Your A Game Anywhere yet, because that's fairly new. I'm really excited to see how that works, but it sounds like we'll also, through those modules, be able to do some sort of activities with them and do some virtual things with them as well, which will help to bring home the lessons and help them kind of reiterate what they learned, which will be super fun. We challenge them through some teamwork and fun group participation. We've seen really great success for those who have attended. And I don't know if Jami mentioned this, but when they attend for your A Game, they do earn a mastery level certificate that they get to take and put on their resume, which always is a really great thing, because you're not only just learning information, but you're being trained and taught on how to be a good employee. So that is something that we've seen even at like the, underclassmen level. When we've taught Bring Your A Game, we've had students come up to us and say, oh my gosh, I went and had a job interview and I told this employer that I was taking this course, and I got the job kind of because I was learning this. And it was like, that's awesome. So this employer recognized Bring Your A Game as a great tool to be able to teach younger people some of those soft skills that they're going to need in their as an employee. So those are kind of some of the things we've heard, is some students, having employers who have appreciated that they've gone through something like this, so that they can learn those soft skills as well. And when Work Ethic first tested this curriculum, youth who initially participated in the summer program, they had the option to complete Bring Your A Game. And those who did not participate, they received, 44% of them received satisfactory ratings on job performance from employers. However, those who did participate in Bring Your A Game, over 90% of them received satisfactory ratings. So it does make a huge difference when it comes to employment and some of those soft skills. The great part about these lessons, and Jami talked a little bit about this, is that they can be adjusted and molded to fit different age groups, different classes that you have. I've taught them to a variety of different age groups, taught them to like middle schoolers, 7th graders. Also taught them to, freshmen, or different classes that they have based on some things that they need. And sometimes teachers will let us know, like, hey, we have this class that, they're really struggling with motivation. This class is, they have some of these things that are going on, and, this is an area that I see that they need. So we focus on some of those things a little bit more based on what the teachers are telling us that the students need. So we can kind of mold these. When we do them in person with the virtual module, sounds like that's going to be something that teachers can fit into their class schedule whenever they need to. With the in-person one, we kind of did it and molded it. That's one question we always got was, is it, one day for 8 hours? Is it a week long? We can kind of mold it based on what works for your schedule. In one school, we've done it every day for a week. Another school, we've done it every Thursday for 6 weeks. So it kind of can be molded and based on, your school and your students' needs. Another thing that I really like about it is that there's different activity options based on age and skill level. So if it's a younger group, we can choose a different activity that kind of better meets their ability to, talk about some of those things, or it's, kind of designed for a younger age group. And then for the younger ages, the younger classes or the younger students, we kind of focus our lessons more on things that apply to them. When they were the 7th graders, we're not really going to talk to them about work and about bosses and employers. Maybe we'll talk to them about their parents at home, and we'll talk to them about teachers and kind of relate it more to homeschool life versus versus work. So we kind of relate it based on where they're at and what they would be utilizing some of those skills for. But I really am excited for Bring Your A Game Anywhere because it's a really good option. And when Jami put that map up there, I was like looking at all the schools we haven't been in yet. But it could be a really good option for remote schools too if we can't get to you. As many of you might know, Career Launch is something that myself as a career advisor is a program that I run, as well as other Department of Labor employment specialists, help bring youth services to youth throughout the state now. That's called our phase 2 of the program, and that is kind of going to be restarted or kind of expanded starting January of 2021. But this could be a really great option for some schools that might be a little bit more remote and might want to get something started sooner. So this is a great thing to get started this fall if you were looking for some of that training for your students. So if you're interested, make sure to reach out to Jami. One thing I did want to mention was, so what we do in Yankton, so some of the ways that we use Bring Your A Game is, based on, classroom needs. If the teacher says, we have the students that, are kind of needing this skill, can we help teach them that? In Yankton, what we do is Yankton, the senior class, they have 2 programs that promote or have students connected to work-based learning experiences. So they have what's called the World of Work, which is a job shadow program. So what they do is they do a curriculum and they kind of figure out 3 or 4 different career fields that they want to pursue or that they might be interested in. And what they do is they go and job shadow for 2 weeks at a time in each of these places. So they kind of get a little well-rounded experience of, what I want to see, and then they can narrow it down to, maybe what they liked best. A lot of times they'll figure out what they didn't like, and that's awesome. That's equally as important as if they find out what they did like. And then there's also, Yankton also has their internship program, which is more of an in-depth experience in one career field that a student chooses that they are at an internship, either paid or unpaid for a semester or the entire year. So what Yankton does with Bring Your A Game is they require every student who's participating in the World of Work or internship to go through Bring Your A Game. So if you are going out into the community, you're representing yourself in the school district, and you're working with employers, they feel like it is incredibly vital for these students to have some soft skills training so that they know how to interact with people, they know how to interact with employers, they know what's right and what's wrong, they know the importance of the appearance and following a dress code and talking to employers when there's issues. So they are trained in how to be an employee before they go out and be employees within the community. And I feel like that's really helped to bridge that and to help make that connection between the school district and the employers and the business community really strong, because they adequately train their students before they're sent out into the workforce to be to have work-based learning experiences. So that's one thing that where we've used it, and it's been really successful in Yankton. So that is kind of what I had for you guys as like an overview of Bring Your A Game and how we utilize the curriculum in the schools. So if you guys have questions or anything came up during what I talked about or what Jami talked about Bring Your A Game, or if there's something that you're wondering, shoot us a message in the chat box, or they unmute themselves, maybe?
I think I have that capability, or I should somewhere, to unmute everyone.
If they want to.
All right, let's see. I think. Oh. So it should be where anyone can unmute themselves. I see that Laura said yes. So you guys, like they said, if you have any questions, we have about 7 minutes. Either drop them in the chat box or unmute yourself.
The other thing I was going to mention, and Jami can correct me if I'm wrong, but with Bring Your A Game, it sounds like we have this option for a virtual platform, but I think that if you were wondering if you could still have in-classroom presentations, I feel like that'll still be an option if you're willing to have a visitor come in and do presentation in classroom. I think that Jami shook her head yes, that we could still be able to do some things in person as well. Maybe for the time being, comfort level is going to be the virtual Bring Your A Game Anywhere, but maybe, spring semester next fall, if it's more of a comfort level thing, then we'd love to be in the school, if you guys want to, but it sounds like both might be an option. Yeah, Jami?
Yeah, every school district's kind of doing things a little different right now. So if somebody wants that in school, in person, they don't want to do the virtual, we can certainly work that out as long as our trained staff is comfortable with coming into the school as well. It looks like we did have a question. Who would we contact if we're interested in having this program at our school? I am from Mobridge. If you just want to, you can either call me or email me. Yes, thank you, Tara. She put my information in the chat, and I would be more than happy to connect you with somebody in a local office.
Okay, I have another question that came up, Jami. It says, what is available for this fall, and is there a cost associated?
There is no cost. Bring Your Game is free if one of our trained staff is providing it. We weren't planning on offering it this fall only because of, like Tara mentioned earlier, our staff is super, super busy with reemployment and trying to get that on track. If we have somebody available, I can certainly reach out and see if they're willing to, but I can't make a promise.
I would say that's a good way to explain it too, because if you have a need or have something that comes up that you would like it at your school this fall, reach out to Jami, let us know. I mean, if we can make it work, we will, because we want to serve students and we want to be able to help in any way we can. But as you all know, yeah, we're kind of a little rerouted with our time right now with unemployment. But if we can help, we will, absolutely. So it doesn't hurt to ask, and we can always see if that's something we can do.
The materials can be taught by a regular classroom teacher. However, then there would be a cost associated. So as you know, Department of Labor purchases all of the curriculum, the workbooks, the curriculum guides, everything an instructor needs from the Center for Work Ethic Development. I think the curriculum guides alone are around $300. The workbooks, I think, are $7 or $8 a piece, which the school doesn't pay for if we come in and teach it. But if we don't own any rights in South Dakota is basically what I'm saying. So if you have a teacher who wants to be trained and wants to teach it, by all means, you can certainly reach out to the Center for Work Ethic Development out of Denver, and they can get you started on that path. And yes, Suzanne, they can be used by tech students. I am actually going to be rolling that out. That would be something that one of our 6 partners would cover. So depending on your location would depend on who you would reach out to there. If you want to email me with a little bit more information, I can get you in contact with the correct person, one of our providers.
See, Cassandra's question.
Oh, yeah.
Cassandra, I think that's based on whatever you guys kind of deem what's appropriate in your school. That's just one thing that Yankton did. But I think it's more than appropriate if you have students going out at internships this fall or in the spring and you want to incorporate Bring Your A Game while they're in internship program. Absolutely. I think whatever's best for your school and your students is just kind of, what you feel like would benefit them. But they don't necessarily have to have it before they'd go into their internships. It's just kind of a nice little, precursor or like classroom material before they go into internships. I know I've worked with other schools who don't do Bring Your A Game yet, but they did some sort of classroom activities to talk about some of those behaviors associated with going out to the workforce. So if you kind of give them a little prep before they go out, that's probably maybe best, just to kind of say, these are some appropriate behaviors, these are some not, this is what you do, this is what you wear. I know every school is a little bit different, but if you can implement it at some point beforehand, I've seen it be super successful. So